Want to know how I've saved 60% or more of my income so you can do it too? There are a few things that I'm sharing in today's video that have made the most impact on being able to help me save as much money as possible. And by saving, I'm not talking about just keeping my money in a savings account, but actually having that money saved so that I can invest that money to make it work for me instead of me working for the money all of the time. And it's not really about how much money you're making, it's really about what you are doing with the money that you're making. There are plenty of people out there that look rich, but actually are in a ton of debt. If you're spending all of the money that you're making, or even more money than you're making, then you're not going to be able to save any of that money or invest it to become financially free. So let's talk about how I've been able to save my money to become financially free. I am Tiffany Thomas with WealthyTiffany.com, and I achieved financial freedom at age 38 through investing in the stock market and real estate. So if you're interested in becoming financially free at a young age, hit that like button and hit the subscribe button, and we're going to dive right in. Over my life, I've been able to save a significant amount of money, and recently I've been able to invest that money. So if you're curious about what I invest in, I do have a video about that you can check out after this video is over. I'll leave a link above and below in the description. Being a saver over such a long time, I have learned quite a few things that have helped me to increase my savings rate that I want to share with you today. I'm sure there's a few you have heard of, but I bet there's some that you haven't. The first one is paying myself first. I actually pay my tithing and pay myself first, and I'm sure you've heard of paying yourself first. This just means before you start paying all of your bills or spending all of your money on whatever you want, you actually pay yourself first. And an easy way to do this is to transfer money to your savings account as soon as you get paid. So any income that you have coming in, just think, okay, I'm going to deposit that into my checking and put a certain percentage into my savings account. And to make it even easier, you can set up an auto transfer. So if you have that paycheck coming in every 2 weeks, just set up an automatic transfer that transfers a certain percentage to your savings account. And honestly, I know this works because I gave a presentation a couple of years ago, and one of my friends had texted me after the presentation and said, I went straight to the bank to set up an auto transfer to my savings account. And I talked to this friend just a couple of weeks ago, and she had told me that she has just continued to have this auto transfer, and she now has a significant amount in her savings account, which she would not have had if she had not set up that auto transfer. So it really makes a big difference to pay yourself first and make it as easy as possible on yourself. That way you can save at least some money. And if you think you don't really have a lot of extra money, just start really, really small. It can be a very small amount, and you can continue to increase that amount over time. And number 2 is keeping my housing costs really low. When I moved out of my parents' house, I moved in with a roommate, so we split the rent. And later on, I eventually bought my own place and had roommates at my place, so they helped to pay my mortgage. So I have done that my entire life, and that has made a huge difference on my savings rate because housing is the largest cost for most Americans. So if you can keep that largest expense as low as possible, you're going to save so much more money. And number 3 is rarely going out to eat. A lot of people go out to lunch every single day with their coworkers. And I was not one of those people. I brought my lunch to work 99% of the time. And if you're wondering how I was able to do that, I did create a video about that. So I'll leave a link above and below in the description. You can check that out when this video is over. And I'm sure you've heard this one before, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but you can really save a lot of money, and it is more healthy to eat at home anyways. And number 4 is I am aware of where all of my money is going to and where I can make adjustments. I love using a spreadsheet and a free money app, it's called Personal Capital, to manage all of my money. I love seeing my net worth grow, and especially my savings account grow. I love transferring money to my savings and seeing that balance increase, knowing that I can invest that money in my next investment. So I get really excited. And I love using Personal Capital because it has charts and graphs in there, so you can really get a visual on where all of your money is being spent, and you can see your net worth or your savings grow over time. Hopefully it's growing over time and not decreasing over time. But if you're like me, a visual learner, then you might like the app. I'll leave a referral link below if you are interested in that. And when I can see everything in one place, then it's easier to make adjustments. I can see, oh, I spent how much on clothing? I don't need to be spending that much. And I become more aware of where I'm spending my money and where I can cut back and increase my savings rate. And if you're more of an auditory learner than a visual learner, then create some sort of voice memo for yourself and make it fun to listen to and say, okay, I have this amount in my savings right now, and I'm going to set a goal to transfer this amount every month, or something like that, or even just affirmations. And if you're more of a kinesthetic learner, then get a Monopoly game and kind of make it your real life and see, okay, yeah, I have this amount in my savings. Use those little fake dollars. Just come up with ideas that work for you, that are going to get you excited about managing your money better and being able to save more money so you can eventually invest that money and make it work for you to become financially free. Number 5 may sound a little contradictory, but it is using credit cards all the time, but never paying credit card interest. I like to earn the cash back I get from my credit cards. So I use them all the time, and then that way I have more money to save. But if you are not disciplined enough or not comfortable with using credit cards, then don't use them. But if you are, it can really work toward your advantage. There's a book that I read called Atomic Habits, which is really good. I'll leave a link below if you do want to check it out. But in the book, he says something to the effect of when someone's trying to quit smoking and they get offered a cigarette, they sometimes say, oh, no thanks, I'm trying to quit. But he says in there, you should really turn that around and say, oh, no thanks, I don't smoke. I'm not a smoker. And I just like that mindset shift, because if you're saying, I'm trying to not do this, to not smoke, or to not spend money on these things, then it kind of gives you a little leeway in your mind. Well, I'm trying, but maybe I could just spend a little bit. But if you're saying, oh, I'm not a smoker, there's no way I'm going to take a cigarette because I don't smoke. The same thing with our money. If we say, I never pay credit card interest, then we're not going to put money on our credit card that we cannot pay off in full before that interest takes effect. And number 6, you may have not thought about this one in this way, but it is being happy with yourself and not worrying about keeping up with the Joneses. The happier we are with ourselves, the less need we have to look good in front of other people or seek the approval of other people. If we're just trying to look good to others, then it just leads to buying things we don't really need or we can't really afford to impress people we probably don't even really like. For example, I didn't feel the need to continuously buy a new car every couple of years. I had my truck for 10 years, and then I bought a new car, and I was planning on keeping that car forever, but it ended up getting totaled, so that is a completely another story. But there's just things that we kind of sometimes feel like we need to purchase in order to keep up with our friends or our neighbors. And if we are really kind of taking an introspection of ourselves and thinking, okay, why do I feel that way? Why do I feel the need to spend money on things I don't really want or even need, and that are keeping me away from the things that are important to me? Then we can start to really change our spending habits. Money problems aren't usually about the money itself, it's about us. It's about our choices, our behaviors, our habits, our actions. Things won't make you happy. You're the one that controls your happiness. Not your neighbors, not the things parked in your garage or in your driveway or the huge TV you have in your family room. It is us. We control our happiness, no matter our circumstances. So focus in on the things that you can actually change, and the things that you can't, then just accept that and move on. I went on a date quite a while ago with a guy who just kind of went on this rant about all of these different things that were happening in the world and how worried he was and just kind of complaining about them. And when he was finally done with his long rant about all of these individual things, he asked what I thought, and I just turned to him and I said, I think you should be worried about the things that you can control and less worried about the things that you cannot control. And he stopped in his tracks, literally, because we were on a hike, and he really thought about that and said, that's a good point. I don't really need to be worrying about all of these things that are out of my control. There's more important things I can be focusing on. Sometimes I can be a little blunt, but sometimes that's what people need. So if you aren't happy with the way things are going in your life, take a second and figure out why that is and start to make changes where you can make changes, and don't worry about the things that you cannot change. And number 7 is using my money strengths to benefit me and trying to mitigate my money weaknesses as much as possible. I think we know what our money weaknesses are, and we can start to mitigate those weaknesses. For example, I'm going to use a food example because everyone can relate to food. I really love sugar cookies, so if I'm at a party and there is a dessert table with sugar cookies, I want to eat those sugar cookies. But on the other hand, I could care less about drinking soda or even alcohol. So if there is a drink table, then I'm going to hang out by the drink table and stay as far away from the dessert table as possible, because that's where my temptation is, that's where my weakness is. To use a money example, if you really love going to the mall with your girlfriends, but you don't always love spending money at the mall, then don't take your credit card with you if you're going to the mall. Just leave it at home so that you're not tempted to spend money, but you can still spend time with your girlfriends. Or if you really like to shop on Amazon all the time, then delete your credit card numbers from being saved in your computer and put your computer somewhere far away from your purse where your credit card is, so that you're not tempted to just, add things to the cart and just check out and buy whatever you want, whenever you want. Mitigate those money weaknesses by making it difficult to do them. And the things that you are good at, do more of that. All right, and the last tip that I want to give you, tip number 8, is to set goals. I have set goals all along, and that's how I've been able to achieve financial freedom and purchase 4 properties. If I didn't set a goal to purchase each of those properties, there's no way I would have purchased them. And if I didn't set a goal to achieve financial freedom by 40, there's no way I would have achieved that by age 38, even earlier. So setting goals for yourself is really important, and seeing that long-term vision. Where do you want to be in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years? What type of lifestyle do you want to be living? Think about these things and write them down, and then do your homework and work backward so that you can actually achieve the goals you want to and be living the lifestyle that you want to. And in particular, if you are looking to increase that savings rate, then set a savings goal. It makes sense, right? If you want to save more money so that you can eventually invest it and become financially free, then you need to set a goal of saving a certain amount each month. And it can be very, very small, and then you can increase it over time. Comment below and tell me which tip was your favorite. I'm curious to know. And those are the 8 tips I wanted to share with you today on how I was able to save 60% of my income and become financially free. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and share it with someone else who would like to hear this information. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and hit the little bell to get notified on when I post new videos. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.